Welcome back. This is John Sadak. While you were away, we had a mound visit, and it looks like they might be making a change. Yep, they're going to the lefty in the bullpen. It's Southpaw Sizzle. Here comes Stephen Offenbaker.
Welcome into another edition of The Lefty in the Bullpen. I'm your host, Stephen Offenbaker. The Lefty in the Bullpen is brought to you by the Locked On Reds podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We have had an amazing run of guests in the last few weeks that have gotten to have a conversation with us and brought that information straight to you. And today is no different. It is very timely. It's very exciting to have this guest because he is the talk of the town right now. As a matter of fact, several of the Cincinnati media outlets have been talking about him almost nonstop since last week when the injury to Joey Votto was revealed to be significant enough to end his season. Today, we have for you the one and only Spencer Steer, who currently is lighting the world on fire down in Louisville. Spencer, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So we will dive right into this. I'm not sure if you are aware just how much of a talk of the town you are right now, because since the injury to Joey Votto, a lot of the beat writers, a lot of the independent media, both myself and my co-host Jeff Carr on this show have been talking about what we would like to see the Reds do for the remainder of the year. And almost to a person, your name comes up in that conversation because there are many that believe that your time could be right now to get a look at the big leagues, to jump in at third base for the Reds, make some different position moves with the big league club to free up that spot for you. Are you aware of the talk that's been going on in the last several days that surrounds you?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of it, but I try to. That's all kind of noise. The only thing I can really control is going out there and playing every day and keep doing what I'm doing. So, everything else is kind of out of my control. So I just try to focus on, like tonight, going out there and getting a couple hits and getting on base.
Well, I'll try not to harp on this too much, but we have done a couple live shows this week. And in every one of those live shows where we were taking questions from the listeners, your name has come up specifically about the benefits that a quote unquote cup of coffee might bring for you. And I'd be interested to get your opinion. You've moved through the levels of the minor leagues now. You've played for a couple different organizations, which we'll touch on here in a minute. But I'm curious from your standpoint, as you've moved into a new level each time, what would be the benefit to, say, getting a cup of coffee to what you would do in the off season? Would it be able to help you prepare better heading into next season? Would it give you more things to work on? What would be the benefit of a quick look through the month of September at the big league level?
I think obviously it wouldn't hurt at all. Being able to get that experience at the highest level, and get my feet wet and start to get comfortable. I think that would help me, hopefully making the team next year and getting my, landing with my feet running. So I think that would really help. And then start to build relationships and just get comfortable. I think that's a huge thing. A lot of guys talk about when they first go up to the big leagues is you have to feel like you belong. You have to feel it's getting settling in up there is probably the hardest part. So yeah, I think it would only help.
Tell me a little bit about your history as far as changing levels. Are you a guy that's able to just kind of dive right in there and get comfortable? Does it usually take you a minute to get settled? What's it like for you personally when you move from team to team and level to level?
Yeah, I think it's always easier, moving up a level within an organization because you're familiar with guys. Because usually you've played with a couple of the guys before, or you know them through spring training or whatever. But moving organizations, coming over the Reds a couple weeks ago, it's a little different. I didn't know anybody, never played against the Reds, so never even played against any of these guys. So it was different coming over here, just being the new guy. But everyone was really welcoming, helped me get settled in, and yeah, I just kind of keep my head down and just work hard and try to you know gain the respect of my teammates before um, you're the loud guy in the locker room or whatever it is. So I just try to keep my head down and gain some respect, and then naturally you kind of just you settle in, you get to know people, and then it's like it's normal now to me. So yeah, it's different, going from team to team, rather level to level within an organization.
The minor league baseball website, milb.com, has you listed as a second baseman. I see from the game logs that you've spent time at second, at short, at third base. What would you say is your natural position? Where are you most comfortable?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, actually. I mean, I wouldn't even say I have like a natural spot anymore, just because how much I've been floating around the last couple of years. I've been playing mostly second and third, sprinkling shortstop every now and then. So I'd say it's either second or third, because that's where I'm playing majority of the time. So, but they're all interchangeable to me. I like switching it up. I like getting a different look every night. So, um, I wouldn't say there's one I would pick over the other at this point.
We had Matt McClain on last week, and he's been like you're talking about, playing a couple different positions down in Chattanooga. And one of the part of the conversation we had was that if you can play shortstop, you can pretty much play anywhere on the infield. All those guys are pretty much natural athletes. Do you agree with that assessment? I know you sprinkle in shortstop, so obviously you have the athletic ability to play there. Is it becoming the norm that we're just going to have all of these former shortstops that we've moved around to fill these other positions just because they're so athletic?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the toughest position in the infield, if not on the field. It takes a lot of obviously athletic ability, and there's a leadership part that goes into it too. Taking control. Most of the cuts and relays, and kind of the whole infield defense kind of flows through you. So yeah, it takes athletic ability, but I think there's also um, a leadership aspect of being a shortstop as well. So yeah, I think once you have that down, you can prove you can play some shortstop. It's pretty easy to move you to pretty much any other position.
So at the big league level right now, there's a guy that has kind of planted his flag at second base, and that is the defending National League Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India. So the spots that would be open, say for a September call up, would probably be third base. How do you feel comfort level wise at third base? What's different about playing on the hot corner versus say second base? How do you like it over there?
Yeah, third base is probably um, throughout my entire baseball career, including college, high school, is where I played the most in my life. Um, and yeah, I'm just as comfortable there as I am at third and short, and it's just different because there's a lot more reaction involved. A lot more slow rollers. There's not really. It never feels like there's a routine play over at third base. It's either a play on the run or a hot shot right at you. So it's a fun position though. There's a lot of really fun plays to be made, and you can make some web gems over there. So um, yeah, I like third base just as much as any of the other spots.
I got to tell you, watching games, there's not a game that goes by where I don't worry about a third baseman losing his head the way that those balls come at you so fast. I don't know. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know that there was ever a time in my life I could have the reaction time and do the things that you folks do on the hot corner. So, hat tip to you. It's amazing athletic ability, what you guys do over there.
Yeah, yeah.
When you mentioned being traded, and I'm sure that was an interesting day. We'll call it that. Obviously, you're in the Minnesota Twins organization, and you and a few of your friends get sent to Cincinnati for starting pitcher Tyler Mahle. Let's go back to that day. How did you find out about the trade? Were you kind of prepared ahead of time that you might be dealt? What did that day look like?
I had a little idea that my name was kind of getting thrown around in trade talks, but I really didn't think it was going to happen. I was actually on the bus in Omaha. We were on the road. Yeah, I was on the bus actually on the way to the field and get a call from our farm director, told me I was traded. So literally took the bus to the field, grabbed my stuff, and then just went right back to the hotel. And then the next, 24 hours was kind of a whirlwind after that. But yeah, it was kind of a crazy experience. You don't think you're going to be the guy that's in the trade, and then next thing you know, you're on a flight to Indianapolis and meeting up with your new team.
So now that you're a Louisville bat, and I really think they do a great job down there at AAA as far as the fan experience, as far as the product that's on the field, the whole environment down there is great in my estimation. Coming over from another organization, walking into this Reds minor league system, the Reds have spent a lot of time and effort the last several years beefing up this system, making improvements, moving more towards the ability to provide information, utilizing analytics more. What has been your experience walking in now to the AAA level as far as support from coaches, information to make yourself better? Tips, things they're asking you to do differently. Just kind of walk me through this new experience of Louisville and the Reds AAA system.
The staff's been great, the past 2 weeks since I've been here, and they've been really helpful, and they've been very good at, communicating, making sure we have everything we need, asking if they can do anything different. And they've just done a really good job of, letting us be pros and letting us kind of dictate what we need on a daily basis. They're big on whatever what you need to do to get ready for a game, and we're going to be here to help you with that. And then they've also just done a lot of early work and stuff like that, helping me get comfortable with the new routines and everything like that. And they've been great so far, and I couldn't be happier with the transition and how they've helped me, get acclimated with the new team and everything.
What does preparation look like for you? Are you an old school type baseball guy? Do you use the analytics and all the information that just seems to be an endless supply out there? Do you watch film? And what do you do to get ready for a game?
So baseball wise, swing wise, I try to keep it, simple, less is more. For me in my routine work in the cages. So um, that routine, before batting practice in the cage and then batting practices hasn't changed much for me over the past couple of years. But information wise, analytics, I think it's all great. There's so much information that you kind of have to pick and choose what you want to look at. But yeah, I mean, we have a ridiculous amount of information on the pitcher that we're facing that night and all their bullpen arms. So, right when we get in the cages, I'll look at who we're seeing that night and see all of his numbers. And then right next to all the analytics, they got video of his last start playing. So, after I get my cage work done, I'll watch some more video. And yeah, so I mean, we get access to a ton of information, and I think it really helps you prepare how you need to prepare to face that certain pitcher and what he has. So yeah, it's just all really good information. I think really useful at this level for sure.
With there being so much information, is there consistently certain things you like to pick out to look at on a pitcher, or does it vary start to start? What do you look for when you're there? I mean, there's so much now. Every game is on video. There's so much information available. How do you narrow that down? What specific things do you look for that help you be ready to face a guy?
So obviously, besides looking at his pitches and his usages on his pitches and the movement and what they're doing, I really like to look at their most previous start and what they did then. Because when you look at the grand scheme of their season, I don't think that says a whole lot, because sometimes guys, add a new pitch, aren't using an old pitch that they're using earlier in the year. And, their usages, I like to look at their most previous start. So if this guy was changeup heavy against righties his last start, that's useful information because it says on the season he only uses that pitch 10% of the time. But his last start he used it 30% of the time against righties. So I think stuff like that really helps because, you know, tonight we're facing that guy and he comes out throwing a bunch of changeups and we're like, oh, he only uses it 10% of the time. But if you look at his last start, he used it a lot more. So I think stuff like that's really important to look at because, you know, it's a long season and you know, guys are always evolving, always changing, always trying new things. So I think that's the most important thing for me is kind of looking at what have they been doing recently.
If you were on a baseball job interview and asked to describe your game and the positive aspects of it, how would you answer that question?
I would say you know what you're getting out of me on a daily basis. You know that I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna be consistent. Um, and I'm gonna put together consistently good at bats every time I go up to the plate. And I think that I pride myself on that. That I don't have bad at bats very very often, and that's kind of my goal. Because baseball, it's hard to control where the ball goes after you hit it. So the only thing you can't control is taking good swings and good pitches. So that's kind of what I try to dumb it down to, and I think that's a big strength of mine.
Looking at the season you've put together and under a circumstance, I mean, you've played for 3 teams this year at 2 different levels. Looking at your 2022, how have you managed to, you talked about the noise earlier when I asked you about the call-up talk. How have you been able to remain so laser focused and so consistent with all of these other things going on around you?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like I said, I just try to zone it all out. And my college coach George Horton, he's always preached control the controllables. So that's kind of my mantra is just control what you can control. And I can't control any of that. People are going to talk. They're going to say what they want. They're going to, think they have all the answers. Um, and for me, like, I just, everything needs to be simple. Like, baseball's a hard game. I got to try to keep it simple. Like, life's complicated. Got to try to keep it simple. And so for me, all I'm focused on is controlling what I can control. And that's going out and playing baseball and just trying to be as consistent as I can and hit the ball hard. Like that's as simple as it gets, and that's the only things I can control. So that's kind of what keeps me grounded. It kind of just keeps me, where my feet are, and it helps me, stay in the moment and enjoy what I'm doing, and ultimately, playing a game for a living.
So at those 3 levels combined, you have a pretty good slash line. It's 376, 367, 532. Since your arrival in Louisville, in 14 games, a slash line of 321, 406, 554. These are pretty good numbers. It's probably difficult to single out an area, but is there something in there that's your primary focus of working on? We talked about what you're really good at. Is there something within your game with what you're doing right now that's a focus to improve that you would like to see a better result with?
My big goal coming into this year was last year I added the power, and then my strikeouts went up, walks kind of went down. So I was just trying to figure out a way to kind of go back to my old self a little bit, where I was walking more, striking out less when I was hitting for less power, and try to combine hitting for power, striking out less, walking more. That's obviously your ideal player, but I think I'm capable of doing that. So I think the big thing for me this year was just trying to strike out less, put the ball in play as much as I can, and be patient enough to take my walks when they're there. So yeah, that's been my big focus and big goal for the duration of the season.
One of the things I like to do with this show, Spencer, is give our listeners and Reds fans, pretty much that stretch all the way from Daytona to Dayton, Cincinnati Reds fans in Reds country, an opportunity to get to know some of the guys that we think are going to be in Cincinnati sooner than later. And you definitely fit that bill. So to take these last few minutes, I'd like to kind of get to know you a little bit better. Let's assume that you get that phone call, whether it's this season or next, it's going to happen, that you end up a member of the Cincinnati Reds. Who is your first phone call after you get the news?
Oh, 100% a conference call with mom and dad. They would definitely be the first ones to find out.
So your baseball journey, your life to professional baseball, I imagine they played a fairly significant role in that. What was your baseball come-uppins like? Were you a little league kid? Were you travel ball? How did you get here?
So I grew up playing little league. Um, well, actually, I have a twin brother and two other brothers who are twins. So I have
Wow.
a pretty crazy childhood. So I got to play on the same team as my three other brothers in little league. I think it was my 10-year-old year. They were 12. So I grew up, playing in the same leagues as them. And then I didn't really do the travel ball until sophomore year of high school. Um, but got to play with my brothers in high school. We all went to the same high school, played baseball. Um,
So have we
but
seen
yeah,
an all steer infield? Has that happened where you guys just took
no,
up the entire?
so one of my brothers was actually two of my brothers were catchers. One was an outfielder, and then one turned into. So yeah, it was like we are kind of all over the map, position wise, but it was a lot of fun. We grew up. I mean, I had three brothers, and we were all around the same age, so it was a fun childhood. And we kind of just created chaos in the neighborhood, and we're always running around, drive my mom nuts, I'm sure, but it was a lot of fun. We all played baseball. We were always, playing out in the front yard, playing basketball, baseball, whatever it was, and yeah, that was kind of my childhood was kind of just revolved around sports all year round with all of us playing everything. So yeah, it was a lot of fun though.
So with the modern technology of basically being able to watch almost any minor league team, online through the .tv service, are all of your siblings and is everybody watching you and chiming in, cheering you on? What's the interaction like as you're working your way up the ladder?
Yeah, they're always checking in. I can't say they're watching every night because it's a lot of games to watch and a lot of time spent. But my parents don't miss a game. But my brothers, they're always checking in, uh, asking how I'm doing. They're actually all going to come out Labor Day weekend. My brothers haven't seen me play yet, so I think they're all coming out Labor Day weekend to come check out some games in Louisville. So really excited about that. But yeah, they've all been awesome. They know I'm chasing my dream, and they've been nothing but supportive and nothing but excited for me.
So we will wrap up with this question, and I love to ask this question, and especially for guys that have moved up through the system and are doing more and more media. A lot of times, the media gets to a point where it's kind of the same questions, and the answers get kind of packaged up, and there's not really a lot of stuff thrown at you that is thought provoking or a little bit different. So I always like to ask this during an interview: what one thing do you wish people would ask you about and give you an opportunity to talk about?
Wow, that's a really good question. Um,
And don't worry, it always results in a pause while people think.
I
So,
know because I've never been asked that question. Uh, Man, I mean, I've always been asked, like, what do you do for fun, that kind of stuff. But
because the interesting thing about it is, and I'll kind of help fill some time while you're thinking. The interesting thing about it is a lot of times these answers result in seeing a part of you that's away from the game or that's different than baseball. Some answers center around charity work, some answers settle around hobbies. It just kind of depends on what's the first thing that pops into your mind.
yeah, I guess the first thing that pops into my mind is like your off season. Like, what are you doing in your off season to fill time? It's like I know you're not working out 24/7. I guess the answer would be like your first 2 weeks of your off season. What are you spending your time doing?
So what do you do the first 2 weeks of your off
So
season?
generally, like how I go about it is, first 2 weeks after season, I kind of just I have a total reset and I just don't do anything. I just do. It's like my 2 weeks of summer, I guess, when I'm a kid in middle school, where I'm just doing whatever I want. So, I mean, ideally, it's golf for me. It's hanging out. It's going to dinners. Just having a total reset and just hanging out on the couch, watching TV. Um, yeah, that's the life for me. 2 weeks after the season, so.
Well, Spencer, I really appreciate the amount of time you've given us and you being here. I really do firmly believe that we're going to see you very, very soon at the big league level. I wish you tons of success. I think that you're going to be a name that we're talking about for many years to come. And I look forward to it. And I hope that, as this journey continues for you, we'll be able to sit down again and talk some more.
100%. Thank you so much. I appreciate having me.
All right, that is Spencer Steer. We are going to wrap up there for today. Thank you so much for watching The Lefty in the Bullpen, brought to you by the Locked On Reds podcast. To get all of these episodes, plus everything else we are doing, click those subscribe buttons in your audio feeds. We are wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Click the subscribe, click the bell, never miss a beat. That's going to do it for me today. Again, I'm your host, Stephen Offenbaker. This is The Lefty in the Bullpen. We'll talk to you next time.